Hello. Hi. Good morning, everyone. This is Parul. I am in Canada, so yes, it's my morning. It's evening time in India, probably. And I'm here today to talk to you guys about my favorite topic, which is cities and marketplaces. I am an urban designer, an architect by graduation, but I pursued my master's in urban design and planning. And it basically came from an interest in cities. Since a child, I was always very curious about how cities function. And I also love to travel a lot. So, one of my favorite things to do while traveling is to visit marketplaces in different cities that I've been to. Um, so, yeah, today I have a small presentation for you guys that is about markets and the important role that markets play in our cities. Normally, as we urban designers and planners like to do, is we like to plan cities on maps. From the beginning of time, we have seen that there have been so many maps that are made about cities, and it is always done in plan where you decide कि यहाँ पे road आएगा, यहाँ पे buildings आएंगी. But the true life of a city is something that you observe at a ground level, at a human level. So when we walk along the streets of a city, that is when we actually understand that city and the way it functions and the way it relates to human beings. So whatever we do on plan and paper is relevant only to a certain point, but the true experience of a city is when you walk the city. And so, okay, let's talk about marketplaces. Um, to me, marketplaces are very interesting spaces because this is where the city comes together. Markets have existed since the beginning of time. The first records of markets can be traced to Persia. Um, when it comes to settlements, hum sabne padha hai. We know that cities are built along the edges of rivers because you need water for irrigation purposes. Um, but the second most important aspect of city building has been the center of trade where people sell and buy produce that they need for everyday living. This is a point of engagement, of conversation. This is where you meet people that you have no connection with, but you are still linked with. Your everyday life is linked with. Now, professionally, this is something that we also refer to as everyday urbanism. Um, Things that we do every day that we come across that make our cities function. But yeah, okay. So as I was saying, that the first markets were made in Persia. This is a photo of the Trajan's market in Rome, which was built around 100 or 110 CE. So we all have a lot of retail superfronts and markets today, those multi-story malls that we have. But this is one of the earliest complexes that was built as a retail shopping front, a four-story trade and commerce exchange. Then we have, of course, from the Roman time, we have these bazaars in Athens, in Greece, where trade happened. So while trade in itself has been this form that has sort of divided the society into different parts based on the skills that people have. So, in olden times where we have in European cities, medieval Europe, you have these town squares, these centers where different traders and merchants come together, and there was this exchange of trade. there's this open arena where people could sit and people could, you know, there was the barter system, so people could exchange that goods for another good. And cities were designed around these squares, these markets. So these markets became extremely important centers of congregation where different streets and different nodes of the city would come together at one point. So a market is a manifestation of society at large because it brings together all different segments and all different trades and skills to one square where people exchange needs with another. So while we look at different kinds of societies, the European society or the Indian society, Asian cultures, all of it, you will see that there is a lot of division and segregation in in the society based on skills and based on trades. If we start tracing back to what our surnames mean, they are somewhere connected to the kind of trade a particular community was engaged in. Um, you will notice the same in Europe and you will notice the same in India. Um, I don't know much about other countries, so I cannot speak for it. But so, as I was saying, that trade and craftsmanship and different skills have divided the society into different segments. But the marketplace is one place where all of this comes together, all of these differences dissolve. This is a trade scene from India. On the right, you see a marketplace in Cairo. These are all old paintings that show that allow us to trace back to how early trade used to happen. So you know, speaking particularly in the case of India, where we have so many different cultures and languages, and we still have a sort of division of caste based on different skills. I really like to point out over here that specifically in the case of India, marketplaces are the places where all these differences dissolve. It does not matter what the person's age or religion or gender or caste is when you are in a market, because this is where you actually trade with needs. This is where you just go to fulfill what you actually need in life. We don't really need these kind of differences. And I love that about markets. I love how that entire difference sort of dissipates, and we are there as one community. Um, and of course, from markets, it's one of the most important things that markets are about is food. I am going to specifically now talk about certain markets that are about food and about food products. So this is specifically present in all cities, in the form of markets, in the form of souks, bazaars, whatever you may call it. Every country, every culture has a different kind of market, and these are places, these are landscapes where a lot of different exchanges coalesce. So it is very interesting to see how these markets function as not just an economic node where, of course, there's exchange of goods and money, but also a social exchange, where people meet. There is a limited interaction with another person, but it is the right amount of socialization that you need. When you're in a plaza, there are things that you may do. There are people who will be buying things. There are people who will be watching other people do these things. So one of the most famous markets in the world that I have been to is La Boquera, which is in Barcelona. This market is situated, you can enter this market from the famous La Rambla street. It's an extremely old market, which initially used to be a meat market, and it was then redesigned and it has been refurbished for decades now. This happens to be one of the finest places where you can source some of the freshest ingredients and some gourmet food. And the market has combined this concept of selling and buying with socializing. So there are small cafes and bars inside where you can sit and you can enjoy fresh tapas or drinks with made with the fresh ingredients being sold inside while you enjoy watching everybody else get to their daily shopping needs. So it's a really live space. um, you can source all fresh ingredients like these pictures show, absolutely delicious gourmet food. And then you have these, you know, places to socialize that I was talking about. It's not particularly a restaurant, but it is, you can see how tightly people are sitting over here. You get to meet new people. You get to interact with other people. You're watching others. It's an absolutely wonderful place to be. This is another photo for the same thing. Then there is Mercado Central, which is in Valencia, Spain. Again, this is a magnificent structure, which is situated right in the district of El Cameron, the central old historic part of Valencia. So the market itself is situated, in a place that is very vibrant and very social, where a lot of people come together for different purposes, for just socializing, having a nice drink, a cup of coffee, and watching people do what they do. So this is the market inside, and one of the really nice Art Nouveau structures that Valencia has. I particularly found it to be very engaging. You learn a lot about people also when you are in these market spaces. Then we have the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. We all know about the various kinds of markets that we have in arcades, in these colonnaded structures. We have them a lot in India as well. If you know Kolaba Causeway in Bombay, it's a similar kind of market where you have an arcade and you have people on both sides selling different stuff, and there's this narrow alleyway through which you traverse. It's a really vibrant site where all different kinds of people come together. Of course, the Borough Market in London, this truly huge market space with many little shops inside, a lot of places where you can stand and you can have tasters, understand what's going on. It's an absolutely vibrant place. Then there is the Ljubljana market in Slovenia, which is again the central part. Actually, is one of the most fascinating market spaces that I've been to. So the center of Ljubljana has been divided into many different parts. There is, of course, the river that flows through in the center, and then there's an old market which is inside a closed building, and then there's the open market where you have these fresh produce. You have all these tiny little kiosks selling these things, and there's a live kitchen that goes on where food is made and people gather. People are eating and sitting, as you can see on the steps. You also have the same side that you can see on the other side of the river, where every part of the natural landscape is linked to one or the other kind of food service. So, food really is this one thing that brings people together, whether it is people buying food products or people consuming food. But it is really in all of these markets, one common factor that we see is that food is the social binding factor in our cities. Everywhere that you see, in any city that you see, the most vibrant place will be the place where food is being sold. So yeah, this is the other part of the square where there are these kiosks selling artisan craft products and bags. Um, this is again one of the three bridges that connect to the Ljubljana town hall, and the bridges are also on certain days of the week flanked by a lot of these farmers and traders who come and sell their stuff. Now, all of these structures that we have seen so far are really old structures. They were built in the 17th and the 18th century. But the next that we are going to see is the Markthal in Rotterdam, which is a manifestation of this old idea of markets, that has been translated into this modern building, which is transparent. It has a glass facade. So you can see through the building from one end to the other. And the inside of Market Hall is exactly the same. It has a lot of these shops, open front shops that are selling these products. And there are cafes and restaurants inside where people can actually sit. And I like the fact that everything is very open in Market Hall, so you can really see what's happening. One of the one of the things that has happened with neoliberalization and privatization of spaces is we have the same things. You would be wondering that, yeah, okay, we have shops and we have restaurants and cafes and everything. But to me, it is more of a fractured social fabric because it is private. When I'm sitting inside my restaurant, I cannot see what's going on in the other restaurant or outside of the four walls of this place. So it takes away from you the ability to observe people, the ability or the possibilities of conversations that and exchange that may happen over here. So I like that this idea has been translated here and all of the walls have been taken away because it allows the coming together of different segments of the society. Not all restaurants will allow you that. Not all marketplaces will allow you that. But bringing together all different kinds of shops and places to eat for all segments of the society, for the rich, the poor, everyone. It forms this amazing social place of gathering, which is what the market hall tries to do. The outside of the market is also a big garden where people gather, people who just want to take a bite from inside and sit outside in the sun, or just sit and just observe people going by through their daily chores and life. So coming back to India, now I really, India has had one of the finest bazaar systems, an amazing array of food products and spices to sell. Street food is one of the things that defines India so well. We all love going to these cow gullies and street lanes where all these vendors are selling food, and to me that sort of is one of the few remains of this kind of social activity where almost all differences sort of disappear. So you have Manik Chowk. I like the fact that your seating is a common area, and you can pick whatever you want from any of the stalls around the square. Uh, like most of you would be knowing, Manik Chowk is this place which is a market in the daytime. So normal trade happens in the daytime, and in the nighttime, this place converts itself into a food market. So it's lined by different kinds of street food stalls, and people come here from all parts of the city and gather over here to enjoy a midnight snack. You have the Sarafa Bazaar in Indore, which is again the same kind of street food market. It has people selling all different kinds of things, and it's this wonderful place where you get to meet so many people. And you have, of course, the cow gullies in Bombay, where people come together, and I like that everything is open, so it takes away all of these walls, and it gives this chance of interaction that I find has been missing so much in our cities. This bazaar-like urbanism, it is what keeps cities alive. And as a designer, I really wish that we could make use of this very urbanism that exists in our cities, that is already there, to revive our social spaces, to not make something that is more of a fractured economy, a fractured social fabric. Like if I have to ask you, in India especially, if you want to go outside and if you want to socialize, there aren't any places. You have to go to a cafe, or in cities like Chennai or Mumbai, you'll have the waterfront, but then again, just a very limited portion of that waterfront is public. So there is really no public space in the city except for the markets, which is where people gather. But I think the part where this possibility of socializing, of sitting and of observing people has been removed from it. It is limited to just selling and buying. And I think if we could bring these different parts together, I think that would create a very vibrant and a very social, um, way of living. So, okay, so Harshal is asking, how do you see marketplaces transform after COVID? Well, yes, this is one question that we all have right now. I feel that this is going to be a different way of socializing, but I have already been noticing the markets in Italy have opened up after whatever happened. But marketplaces will need to have more kinds of safety measures in place. But people have come up with ways with social distancing where people are still socializing in the same way, because I think that is the core inherent need of human beings to interact, and we all understand that right now, given that we're locked in our homes, that we do really need to get out and we do really need to see people. It is high time now that cities start focusing on the fact that we need to give more land area to these kind of places in our city where people can come out in the open, in parks, and where you can combine these activities. So I think it's really time that we move away from the planning model that we have, that does not allow so much space for open spaces. So I think that is something that we will need to do. Well, thanks a lot, Delhi Food Walks, and I hope whoever was attending this has enjoyed this session. Have a great day, guys. Bye.